A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark, chapter 12, verses 38 to 44. Passage taken from the Message version of the Bible. He continued teaching. Watch out for the religion scholars. They love to walk around in academic gowns, preening in the radiance of public flattery, basking in permanent position, sitting at the head table at every church function, and all the time they are exploiting the weak and helpless. The longer their prayers, the worse they get, but they'll pay for it in the end. Sitting across from the offering box, he was observing how the crowd tossed money in for the collection. Many of the rich were making large contributions. One poor widow came up and put in 2 small coins, a measly 2 cents. Jesus called his disciples over and said, "The truth is that this poor widow gave more to the collection than all the others put together. All the others gave what they will never miss. She gave extravagantly what she couldn't afford. She gave her all." The Gospel of the Lord.
Reflections on the Gospel according to Mark, chapter 12, verses 38 to 44. Is it possible to give away everything we have? I'm afraid to talk about it because I'm not so sure how much can I give. The widow in the Gospel today has given everything she had to live on, Jesus tells. It takes a lot of courage and indeed requires total trust in the divine providence that God will take care of you. But people of this kind are not uncommon though. Stories of great saints of the past are there before us, telling of their heroic acts of charity. Do not have to go that far into the history books. Look around us and see the generous acts of charity that have kept hundreds of homeless poor in our city warm and with meals to eat. COVID-19 pandemic has taught us the life lessons to care for our neighbors, to give without measure, and to love without conditions. And furthermore, Jesus reminds us that all of this can be and should be done in silence, without fuss, without posting it on social media, and without your left hand knowing what the right hand is doing. An act of charity is not a photo opportunity, and this is a principle that should be taught to our present generation, because God already knows what we do and what we don't do. Happiness is not in receiving but in giving. Perhaps not that easy to accept. There is a famous poem by title "The Little Grain of Gold" by Rabindranath Tagore, a Nobel laureate. The poem is about a beggar who once happened to meet the king. Here is the poem. "I was asking from door to door on the road to the village when your golden chariot appeared in the distance like a magnificent dream, and I wondering who was that King of Kings. My hopes soared to heaven, and I thought my bad days were over, and I was waiting for spontaneous alms, treasures spilled by the dust, and the coach stopped by my side. You looked at me and came down smiling. I felt that the happiness of life had come to an end. And suddenly you extended your right hand to me saying, 'Can you give me something?' What a funny thing about your royalty. Ask a beggar?" And I was confused and I didn't know what to do. Then I slowly took a grain of wheat out of my bag and gave it to you. But what a surprise was mine when I emptied my sack on the ground in the afternoon. I found a grain of gold in the misery of the heap. Jesus gave all that he had and he was, his whole self, to bring others life and happiness. Like him, let us not count the cost of our gifts,